We'll move on now to our second panel, which is the people on the ground who are carrying the ball down the field. What's the analogy? The folks from CDCR and the community colleges. So we're going to hear from Millicent Tidwell, who's the director of the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation Division of Rehabilitative Programs. Brant Choate, who's the superintendent of the Office of Correctional Education. Vince Stewart, the vice chancellor of governmental relations in the Community College Chancellor's Office, and Pam Walker, the Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs. These folks are our team that is doing the intense work of implementation, which, as we know, is where all good ideas go astray. If they're going to go astray, and if they work, become models for the nation. So thank you so much for being here. And Director Tidwell, why don't you lead off?
Great. Thank you, Senator, and thank you so much for inviting us to participate in this discussion today with the committee. We are grateful to be part of the discussion and partners in the solutions. I also wanted to say thank you to Stanford Law and Berkeley School of Law for providing a roadmap for the future of the Office of Correctional Education. The timing of the report is could not be better for our department, and I am a firm believer that research findings should guide our decision-making and policy-making as we move forward. I also believe that CDCR, in collaboration with the Chancellor's Office, is off to a running start when it comes to putting the practices as outlined in the report into place. To that end, I'm happy to report that we have a fully executed interagency agreement per SB 1391. That I will be providing an outline on that IA for you momentarily. I believe that we sent a copy to the committee yesterday, and I apologize for the late submission. Although the agreement was effective as of March 1st, we were awaiting final Department of General Services approval, which we received yesterday. So congratulations to the team, the staff at DRP, and the Chancellor's Office for working on this IA over the last few months. And we truly view this as only the beginning of a long-term relationship. And obviously, from the depth and breadth of the previous testimony and panel, we have a lot of work to do. So I'm going to provide you with some of the interagency agreement highlights according to SB 1391. In it, we are to provide programs leading to degrees, certificates, and credentials for industry standard jobs. Also provide college articulation and support services. We also, the very important data collection aspect of this, where we'll be having demographics, participation data, certificates and credentials, and completions. That is very important for us to monitor. We've assigned a project manager on both sides of the Chancellor's Office and within CDCR to manage this process as it moves forward. And we intend on working with the Chancellor's Office to set up a request for proposals for up to 4 colleges within the boundaries of the reentry hubs that are currently existing within CDCR's system. We also, in collaboration with the Chancellor's Office, will be determining the best programs offered within the pilot sites and provide ongoing monitor and evaluation according to SB 1391 of all of the programs. We are looking forward to this collaboration, and I'm going to, at this time, be here to answer any questions, but turn it over to the people who have been working on a little more of the devil in the details, if you will, and at this time, turn it over to Vince Stewart, who's going to be speaking.
So, Senator Hancock, if it's all right with the committee, we did want to change up the order of the speakers.
Fine.
Terrific. So I will go next. And first, I'd like to thank the Senator and the committee for their leadership on this issue, and certainly thank Director Tidwell and all of her colleagues at the Department of Corrections for their partnership in this effort. I'll keep my comments relatively brief since Director Tidwell really went over the gist of the interagency agreement, which we're very pleased to have completed by the deadline. Basically, what I wanted to say, though, is I think the importance of this issue to the community college system, the Chancellor's Office, and the Board of Governors. I think educational programs for incarcerated and formerly incarcerated students are a priority for the community colleges, and that has really taken on an added urgency with the passage of SB 1391. I think SB 1391 is really going to reshape how the Chancellor's Office oversees and implements these educational programs. And I say that because the efforts that have been brought to bear around implementation of 1391 are really requiring us to be much more proactive in providing guidance and support to assist our local districts and colleges with the implementation of the bill, and equally important, to disseminate best practices across the system so that we're able to maximize the benefits of this legislation and really deal with the quality of programs and access. So we really are being able to get to the outcomes that I think you heard from the earlier panel and the research in terms of what we're really trying to achieve. The other thing I want to mention is that the Chancellor's Office is not stopping with 1391. We're certainly appreciative of the funding for the pilot program and obviously the ability for our colleges to claim state apportionment for funding incarcerated students, but we're also looking at ways that we can leverage partnerships with philanthropy and nonprofit organizations so that we can get a deeper penetration into this issue and serve those colleges and districts beyond those that we will be able to serve in the pilot program. So we really think of this as really a watershed opportunity to provide quality programs to a group of students who can really benefit tremendously for themselves personally, but I think also for our state and society generally. I did want to mention just one other item in response to Senator Leno's question about cost. These are relatively sort of back-of-the-envelope calculations, but generally speaking, the cost to the state for serving incarcerated students, and I think this was for the Coastline program, is roughly about $4,500. So that's for a full-time student. Part-time student would be about $2,200. And then to the students, their costs would be mostly instructional materials and books, and that's probably around $2,500. And then those students would also receive Board of Governors fee waivers. So it really is a very, I think, cost-effective way of providing opportunities to incarcerated and formerly incarcerated students and giving them the opportunities to where they're able to emerge from the correctional facilities and hopefully gain successful employment and not return. So we think that's an investment really worthwhile. With that, I will turn it over to my colleague, Vice Chancellor Pam Walker, our Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, who can get into the details of the programmatic aspects. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator, committee, thank you very much for allowing me to speak today. This has been a very interesting last 7 months since I just came to the Chancellor's office from a college 7 months ago, and the opportunity to get involved with this program brought me back to my history. In the 1980s, we did see a number of colleges in our prisons and the opportunity for some of our students to be successful through that. When I was on a college campus, often we would talk about formerly incarcerated students in classes and how we could be helpful from a college perspective in helping those students who had left prison and now were in our community. I think now as we look at a program like this, as we were doing our agreement and working on the collaboration, we also thought it was time to do a survey again. I think we did a survey in 2007 and a survey in 2014 relative to what's happening on our community colleges. We of the 112, 113 in a week, we got 59 responses back. 25 colleges responded that they are currently offering some kind of program and service to incarcerated students. And so I think it's important to note that 7 colleges currently offer some sort of degree program, 13 colleges offer certificates, and the wide variety of programs offered are in liberal arts and humanities and general education, in vocational programs, automotive, culinary, carpentry, solar, solid waste, and there are educational programs in basic skills, ESL, college readiness. I think that some of our colleges also are doing some work on assessment, orientation, counseling. They do the fee waivers, veterans, EOP, DSPS, textbook rentals on some of our campuses, and work source centers and referral to community resources. So Now, saying that, they're offering it in a variety of ways. I think with this particular agreement, we'll have the opportunity to really hone in on the work that they're doing and leverage some of our existing opportunities. We've heard about the Student Success Plan. We call it affectionately SSSP or Jack Scott's Bill. You know, we do those kinds of things, but leveraging the existing resources that we have with the SSSP is going to be very important. And when we talk about faculty, I think the important part of this too is developing that culturally responsive faculty and staff that while we believe people want to teach on the inside, I also think that we need to do some very important work with individuals, much like we did with our faculty who were teaching to our veteran students as well. We need to do some very good work in trying to help people understand and engage in a responsive way with our students on the inside. Just recently, I've been around the state talking about the bachelor's degree programs that we're about to start in the pilots, and I asked every one of those colleges interested in a bachelor's degree, are you felon-friendly with this degree? Will students who might have been incarcerated have the opportunity to get a bachelor's degree in this program as well? And one of my colleagues said, let me talk to the accrediting agency that we're working with. So I think also this particular opportunity is going to allow us to engage people in a different way. And I think that's really important as well. So we will work collaboratively. We'll bring our colleges together and talk about this in a unique way so that we will offer an associate degree for transfer, one traditional degree, one certificate program, as well as general education courses as we move this along. Our students through the SSSP will receive an education plan. That is the important piece. Counseling and all other student support services as we develop this program. We're going to jointly track with CDCR the inmate education program data and outcomes. We've been working with our research people, so we know how we're going to be able to do that. And that we anticipate that at least one program will be offered by each college in the fall. Now, how will we do these educational methodologies, including face-to-face? We've got a lot of work to do in the next few months to get that together. But I think that the important part is that while we don't yet know the exact programs that will start, since this just was completed, we do know that we will be ready to go in the fall, and we're looking forward to the success of this. As I said to many of my colleagues in the last weeks, I really look at this both from a social place and also from an economic place. When we see the numbers of people who are incarcerated and the numbers of opportunities that we can provide on the outside, along with our apprenticeship programs and developing those programs as well, we see a full spectrum of opportunities.
Thank you.
I believe it's my turn.
It is.
Senator, thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning. I'm going to provide a little insight as to where we are now and with the broader scope of the bill. The completion of the interagency agreement under Section 2 of the bill is an important milestone. Other things have been happening throughout the state pertaining to Section 1 that I thought you might be interested in hearing about. Local wardens have reached out to community colleges in their district and actually established relationships already. Currently, we have 12 new relationships that are above and beyond the existing 28 partnerships we have that have started because of SB 1391. And these are 12 in-person type classes, not correspondence courses, and they're in the prison of their district or in the district of their prison. And I can't take credit for this. This is actually our wardens and the local colleges working out these agreements on their own, and that's the beauty of this, where it's just happening, and it's going to continue to happen. We see the deployment of the entire bill coming in 3 phases, 2 of them happening simultaneously. One is to establish partnerships in all 35 prisons with the college in that district. So every college has a partnership with each prison. In conjunction with that, the rollout of the interagency agreement, where we're going to put together a program that we think models best practices around the country and do a pilot study in 4 different prisons. Now, from what we learn in that pilot study, we're going to take that back to these existing 35 partnerships and teach them and provide an opportunity where we can bring this network together. Where now we have a network of 35 prisons and colleges working together on similar programs from what we learn in the pilot. Examples of what that might look like would be computer-based instruction as an in-person but interactive environment using all possible and available technologies. Transferable credits from any CDCR college program from one prison to another or to the state college system or the University of California system. Programs that enhance the current CDCR career technical education programs that lead to a 4-year degree. And programs that diminish or eliminate the cost of textbooks using a server-based course management system. In my opinion, one of the best things that has been accomplished by SB 1391 was the breakdown of a natural silo between CDCR and the Chancellor's office. We are now inspired to work collaboratively to create the best correctional college system in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I do have a number of questions, and I really am very, very excited and grateful to you for the incredible creative work that you've done over the past months. But one would be to CDCR. I'm interested in the involvement of other parts of CDCR, i.e., how is parole involved right now? And I ask that because in the Michigan model from Ford, I remember reading that they have, quote, specially prepared parole officers, and it does seem to me that's part of training. And as you know, the Budget Committee is also very concerned about the fact that apparently parole programs were cut to shift resources to other parts of CDCR in the last budget cycle. So I hope that, parole is going to be such an important connection between leaving prison and entering, hopefully, an educational community on the outside, that that's going to be important.
Sure, I can speak to that, Senator. As far as not speaking on behalf of the Division of Adult Parole Operations, but Dan Stone, Director Stone, and I are very good partners in forging new reentry models and other community-based networks that are available for all parolees, and even the continuation of services that we've started for our returning through the PRCS process through the community supervision. So I will say that we have done a lot with our partnership with parole over the last several months, including raising our utilization rates in all of our community-based programs from about 45% to around 92%. And so that's really good numbers, and working on hitting that target of 70%. There are issues that we are currently discussing around a holistic approach, if you will, around the services that we provide that include education. Historically, we've had networks that consist of just substance abuse network service providers and the ancillary services that are included in them, but we're working towards including the education components along with this. So Dr. Choate's vision of utilizing technology and engaging the community colleges in the institutions districts also will translate into increased communications and transferability of credits and units to the community side of where that person is paroling to. So it's all part of our discussions, and we will be careful to include all of our partners in those discussions.
Great. And then I was intrigued by some of the references to the use of inmate tutors and having that be a prison employment opportunity. And I wondered if you guys, if you were looking at that at this point, or?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yes, actually, it does exist in several prisons already, and we rely on the inmate tutors quite heavily, and it's very successful. But I agree with the study, the Degrees of Freedom study, in that we definitely need to capitalize on that because they can provide more resources for us.
Right. Thank you. And then finally, I am interested in how we can extend the opportunity for community college education to correctional staff. And I guess that model was in New York State, and I wondered if you're looking at that at all. I think it would probably be good for everybody.
Well, we have not looked at that to date, but certainly we were taking notes during the previous testimony, and we'll be looking at all of those options.
Okay, that's terrific. Do you have any thoughts as a group or as individual institutions about the reference to a gatekeeper or advisory board, slightly, that might be in place that could help with implementation and oversight?
Well, I think that we would certainly be open to discussing those ideas with you, and obviously it would depend on the makeup of the group itself and the authority extended to it by which we would want to have some input on.
Yeah, what did you think about the notion of maybe doing some subset of the Vera Institute Ford Foundation model, using people that would have expertise in this area? I just know that it's so hard to implement something new. Sometimes it's great to have people who've done it, who can make suggestions.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, we don't want to reinvent the wheel, and if there's people out there with the expertise needed, we would certainly be welcoming of having their input as we take our training wheels off and start riding this bike again.
Fine, okay. And then you reference in the MOU draft that I got yesterday that you're going to work together on metrics and standards, and I wondered when those might be done. Do you have a timeline?
We had our first meeting regarding that yesterday.
Okay, and so how long should it take?
Probably 24 hours, we'll have that done for you.
Okay, seriously,
No.
we do want to know, because I think it's very exciting that we have wardens reaching out, because that means the kind of proactive leadership that we want to see in the institution. On the other hand, we know that there have been problems with some of the ways this was implemented before. It wasn't as effective as it could be. So how do we stay in front of the truck in a way, and how do we maintain standards or make sure that we help the entrepreneurs build in standards? And part of that is we need to know what the standards are, right? So, I mean, are you anticipating we'd have that by budget time, or what's that? Can you give me a timeline?
Certainly, I'll take a stab at it, and we'll invite my colleague, Dr. Pam Walker. You know, my expectation is that since we're in the process now of developing the RFP for the colleges that want to participate in the pilot program, that the RFP would really delineate what are the outcomes that we're looking for, the metrics by which those outcomes are going to be measured, so that we can come back, because there is a requirement that we need to report back to the legislature in July of 2018. So we want to go into this sort of starting with the end in mind and being clear as to, okay, what are we looking to achieve, and then how are we going to measure that over time, and what are the appropriate benchmarks? So I think that will be baked into the RFP so that the colleges who participate in the pilot understand what their expectations are.
So when are you anticipating sending out the RFP?
We're developing it now, so the
Right
timeline-
now, I mean, any day. And the other piece of all this is, for us, I think with 112 colleges and 72 districts, we really are going to work together in an advisory capacity, both with the RFP and then those other colleges who are involved. We don't need people running all over the place, being entrepreneurial, but to really work on developing the academic standards we have on our campuses. We want that same academic standard to occur inside. So we're going to be doing a variety of things to move this agenda along, but I think the RFP will be done very quickly.
Well, and I would like to add, I know you haven't pinned us down to a date specific.
See how we
Yeah,
did that?
I saw you had to do that. We can certainly keep you posted on our progress, and as this shakes out, give you some more definitive timelines and dates, and notify your office as the RFP goes out. And also would like to say that Brant has, Dr. Choate has done a really good job of communicating our intent for standardization with all the prisons and all the wardens.
great.
You know, when the bill was first signed, we were kind of a little hesitant to have all these colleges jump in because of our desire for standardization. But he's done a very good job at communicating and then bringing the colleges into this loop. And then the chancellor's office is helping us with a broader discussion with everyone so that we have everyone on the same page. I think that's the important part.
And I think that's terrific. I was thinking as we were listening to the whole hearing today, how important learning networks are for people, especially as they undertake new ventures, so they can bring their problems for discussion with each other and then also bring in the outside experts that may have, I'm almost going to call them tips. You know, sometimes somebody who solved that problem can just make all the difference to the person who's facing it as a new challenge.
Right.
So I think that's terrific. And finally, there's been a lot of discussion about the place of technology, the place of distance learning, what kind of distance learning, and in-person learning. And I think we've discussed, you all know, I am a very strong believer that one human being looking another human being in the eye is how things really change in people's lives. And I'm hoping that we can maximize in-person learning. And I just wondered how you're looking at that as you construct your RFP.
Well, I will say that the 12 that we have so far in the queue, if you will, are all in-person instruction. And I think that we all agree that that is the preferred method of delivery of services. But where that is not possible is where we would want to utilize technology to its fullest benefit. And that would mean some interactiveness remotely where that is possible. And, you know, we've got some work to do in that area as far as the online college that we have down in Ironwood, perhaps, you know, some more of that type of technology in the certain remote areas or areas where it's very difficult to hire staff to go there. But definitely face-to-face and in-person is our preferred method of delivery of services.
You know, that's terrific. And let me just ask, could you let us know the 12 prisons that are putting in the new programs? Because we do visit prisons fairly frequently, and it would be wonderful to have a sense of where some of those are so that we can ask about the programs if we go there, or we can make a special trip.
Sure, we'll provide that list to the committee.
That would be wonderful. Senator Anderson.
You know, when we went through this, I meant to ask this of the first panel, but maybe you can answer it. Do we have anything like career counselors for the prisoners when they're looking at this and thinking about it? I know that we're encouraging them all to get educations, but is there any kind of thought to that?
We don't have that classification per se. We utilize some of our academic instructors to provide some of that direction and counseling type mentoring through our voluntary education program, which is where a lot of that instruction and mentoring takes place right now. I don't know if Brent, you'd like to add.
Is there any, what comes to mind is if I'm studying accounting and I'm there based on financial crimes,
Right.
I may have difficulty finding a job in the financial world based on even though I served my time and I cleared it, it's going to be hard to hire a felon in that field. Do they receive any kind of help along those ways as far as finding a path that would lead to a job or a career?
We have some programs through the reentry hubs that does transitions work, but that's kind of based on what they've already completed in the prisons. I think what you're alluding to would be more of an overall case management plan for people when they get to prison and what they're going to do while they're there. And that is currently, an automated version of that is currently being developed to utilize with our correctional counselors, and how so someone plans to spend their entire stay with us. And depending on how long of a sentence someone receives, what is the better avenue for them. So I think that we're looking at rolling that out sometime in the fall, the pilot of that case management plan. And I think that's going to really help with the direction and future programming activities and where we get people in the right place